What is it that you want? I mean, what you really want, what you're fired up about, what you're super passionate about. I want you to think about that. Think about it long and hard. Now imagine that there were no obstacles in your way. You weren't fearful, you weren't anxious, you weren't doubting. You feel like you're worthy of it. You feel like you're deserving of it. How does that feel to you? What do you want to change in your life? What do you want to experience that you haven't experienced before? These are the things that are at your fingertips with the upcoming new moon in Scorpio. It's about to be sexy. It's about to be sultry. But most importantly, it's going to be transformative. So if you want to know how to use this amazing energy to manifest what you really, really want, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If this is our first time meeting, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this video is all about the upcoming new moon in Scorpio happening on Friday, November 1st at 8:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 9 degrees of Scorpio. So as you could probably tell by the intro, this is the new moon of the year, dare I say of 2024, that you do not want to miss out on. This is the time when we really tap into our deepest, even our darkest desires. We manifest them, we give them life, we conceive them. Now, Scorpio has a lot to do with transformation. It also has a lot to do with regeneration. So on the transformation side, we're talking about death and rebirth, endings followed by new beginnings. And on the regeneration side, we're talking about sex, we're talking about conception, and we're talking about merging in a way that has a profound effect on our lives. Hopefully you didn't hear that. There was a text message coming through. Whatever. But in any event, this is the new moon that you don't want to miss out on. So in typical fashion, I will be discussing the numerology, the astrology, manifestation, and some messages from spirit. All right. So before we get into all of the juicy, and I use juicy intentionally because we're talking about Scorpio. Before we get into all the juicy details, of course, we start with the basics. All right. So in terms of the basics, let's talk about Scorpio energy and let's talk about new moon energy. All right. So first, Scorpio. I feel like Scorpio is the sign that's very much misunderstood because it has a lot of mystery to it. So therefore, I feel like a lot of people can't really pinpoint exactly what Scorpio energy is. However, the one adjective that you can use to describe Scorpio energy is intense. Scorpio loves everything substantive and deep. Although mysterious, Scorpio is very emotional, right? Not in the way of like a Cancer or Pisces, but more so in a deep and substantive way, in a way that can sort of bring clarity to your emotions, right? Again, Scorpio is transformative. I think the archetypal sort of story for Scorpio is there are two stories, right? We have the caterpillar morphing into the butterfly, and we have the phoenix rising from the ashes. Two sort of different archetypes, but both sort of embodying the same kind of energy. So when we talk about the caterpillar into the chrysalis and turning into the butterfly, it's this process of transformation, this process of sort of being broken down and then being built back up. Think of a caterpillar, right? When you think about how a caterpillar operates, it's sort of slithering on the ground. Its vantage point is only limited to what it really sees in front of it. It's limited to ground level. And then when the caterpillar transforms into the butterfly can fly, right? Its vantage point broadens. It's higher, literally, in space. When I say space, I mean like in the space that it's in. So the caterpillar is slithering on the ground. The butterfly is flying. It's flitting from flower to flower. It's freer. It has more available to it. right? That's sort of emblematic of this Scorpio energy where the caterpillar breaks down and turns into the butterfly. And in a way, so does Scorpio. Scorpio is very familiar with endings because Scorpio knows that endings are swiftly followed by new beginnings. And these new beginnings are a step in evolution. These new beginnings are ascension, right? So that's the one archetype. Then we have the other archetype, which is the phoenix rising from the ashes. Now, obviously, this embodies transformation as well, because what is meant to destroy the phoenix is actually what gives it life. And while both archetypes really embody transformation, right? The phoenix, the archetype of the phoenix, also embodies purification. A lot can be purified in the fire. And in a way, the phoenix is purified as it burns and then emerges from the ashes. And notice this archetype. Notice both of these archetypes. It's this sort of lower level thing, this lower level energy, going through a process, going through a transformation, and then emerging. Both of these archetypes can fly, can soar, which very much symbolizes ascension and evolution. Now, this is super important because when we're talking about change, change can take a variety of flavors, right? Like there can be sort of lateral change where you're kind of just changing things laterally, right? But then we have profound change, which is really about evolution, which is going higher, going from a sort of baser kind of energy to a higher level, a higher consciousness, a higher vantage point. And that is what is at our disposal with this new moon in Scorpio. So this isn't necessarily the new moon that you want to play it safe or make minimal changes to your life. This is the time when you can literally transform, where you can go from the caterpillar to the butterfly, where you can go from a baser or lower sort of energy or frequency to a higher, more advanced, more evolved frequency. This is the time of year when we make changes. And if you've been watching any of my lives over the past couple of weeks, especially as I have been talking about Scorpio energy, I've talked about how it is Scorpio season when you make these changes. It's not January. So right now, this is when we are planting the seeds at this new moon. We're planting seeds of change and transformation. And understand, I want you to equate transformations to two words: permanent and profound. These are the changes that we can evoke at this new moon. And speaking of new moon, let's talk about new moons. So new moons are, my texts are going off, sorry. New moons are when the sun and the moon are conjunct, meaning that they occupy the same space in the sky. It is the beginning of the lunar cycle. It's the darkest part of the lunar cycle. And think about that, right? At new moons, we plant new seeds and set new intentions. Think of it as the fertile soil. Think of it as literally planting the seed in that soil. When you plant that seed, it is in the darkness. And it is in this darkness that we create, right? It's in this darkness that we conceive. It's in this darkness that we manifest, that we plant the seeds that we want to see grow, right? So planting the seed, new intention. This really sort of speaks to what I was saying before with Scorpio energy about Scorpio not just being about transformation, but also being about conception. Scorpio rules the reproductive organs. Scorpio is very much associated with sex, right? And so what happens during sex? We all know the mechanics, but the way that it's sort of intended is for procreation, right? It's also for pleasure, right? That's another story for another day. However, it's about procreation. What do you want to procreate in your life? Now, the one important facet of this is that procreation is masculine and feminine energy. And so when you are planting your seeds for this new moon or at this new moon, it's really important to be balanced. Equal parts masculine energy, equal parts feminine energy. This is also emblematic of new moons, period, because new moons are when the sun and the moon are together. Sun is masculine energy, moon is feminine energy. You put those together, you have conception. That is why we set new intentions and plant new seeds at the new moon phase. So how does it look to balance your masculine and feminine energies at this new moon, or at any new moon for that matter. It's equal parts embodiment, which is feminine energy, and action, which is masculine energy. So at this new moon in Scorpio, if we are evoking transformation of a what? Permanent and profound nature, we have to be willing to embody the change that we want to make and then take action on that embodiment. And the action that we take is going to be inspired action. So I hope that didn't go over your head, but that is just how Spirit delivered it to me. All right. So that's the basics when it comes to this new moon in Scorpio. So now let's get a little more detailed. And first, we will talk about the numerology. All right, so let's talk numbers. So one of my favorite things to do when I am discussing any moon, a new moon or a full moon, is to go into the numerology of that moon because it can really give us a lot more information on the energy that is happening and the energy that is available to us. So, in terms of the numerology of this new moon, it is sponsored by the number 9 because this new moon is happening at 9 degrees of Scorpio. And I love this. I love how nature works. I love how the universe is designed because everything just sort of flows together. So, in terms of the number 9, the numerology of it is really about completion, but not finality. It's that last leg of a cycle. So, we are wrapping things up. And inherent in that wrap up is also like a door opening for a new cycle to begin. So if that does not encapsulate Scorpio energy, I really don't know what does. So this is the time to wrap things up, right? And that's not necessarily as easy as it sounds because we live in a society that's conditioned us to believe a lot of times that endings are bad, that death is negative. A lot of times we're so attached to things that the thought of them ending, leaving, uh, dying off essentially evokes hurt, pain, trauma, right? However, as a spiritual being, you will understand that death is merely a part of the process and it is never the end. That's why I love the numerology of this new moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is all about death and rebirth. And that's the essence of the number 9. Remember, completion, but not finality. So let's say that you want to change your financial situation. You're tired of living the way that you've been living. You're tired of going through these karmic cycles. And side note, this is the new moon where you would want to break karmic cycles. It's going to require some work, which I'll get into a little bit later, but this is when you can stop the vicious cycles. Remember, transformation is permanent and profound. So you want to change your situation and you no longer want to live the way that you want to live, right? You have to close that door and close it permanently. I mean, talking about locking it, boarding it up, cementing over it, even, right? And move on to the next thing. That's the essence of the number 9 as expressed by this new moon in Scorpio. Okay. So again, this element of transformation obviously is inherent in the number 9, right? I'm looking at my notes just in case you're wondering what I'm doing. I love this. It says, according to, numerology, the number 9 absorbs answers from a spiritual source, then delivers them to us in the real world. And this very much touches upon sort of what I was about to say. So let me just say it, that the work inherent in Scorpio energy is going to be highlighted at this time, meaning that it's not just about, oh, let me just change my mind real quick and so forth and so on. This may require some deep introspective work, aka shadow work. This may be really examining the motivations behind your actions and the motivations and your reasons behind your intentions and figuring out what needs tweaking. Maybe you need healing, or maybe you just need a mindset change. Either way, this new moon calls for us to go deep into the dark recesses of our minds, of our emotions, and that is where we make the change. The other thing about Scorpio energy that I always wait, There's this phrase that I always equate with Scorpio energy, and it is mine your life, like a diamond mine, right? In order to get to the diamonds, right, you got to go deep underground. You got to get dirty. You got to have the right tools. And amidst all this coal and dirt and soot, right, are diamonds that we arguably have collectively agreed are valuable. So I say that to say that at this new moon, it's not just about setting the intention, it's about mining your life, meaning you're going to have to probably go through your repressed emotions. You're going to have to go through your habits. You're going to have to go through the ugly things and the things that are underneath the surface within you in order to find those diamonds. Right? It's super important. That is what is going to facilitate this transformation. Again, it's not just about changing your mind. It could be about changing your habits, right? Let's see what else we have for the number 9. It's about awakening, right? Oh, this I love. Has gone through its fair share of hardship and is wiser, stronger, and more aware as a result. This speaks directly to the caterpillar, to the butterfly pipeline I was talking about before. That hardship, right? That a caterpillar endures, meaning that it goes into the chrysalis and it completely disintegrates. Everything that it once was turns into mush, only to be restructured again as a butterfly, right? And so, as a butterfly, that caterpillar is now stronger, it's now wiser, and it has a bigger vantage point. It is more enlightened. And that's not only emblematic of the Scorpio archetype, it's also emblematic of the number 9 in numerology. I think that's super important and super helpful. So, in terms of the astrology as it relates to the number 9, it is associated with Sagittarius and Aries. So, Sagittarius is the 9th sign of the zodiac, hence why it is associated with the number 9. And Sagittarius sort of represents the ending point of this transformation. Scorpio energy is down in the depths and the dungeons. Sagittarius energy is in the stratosphere. So essentially, Sagittarius energy represents the enlightenment that we receive after we've gone through that scorpionic transformation. And the number 9 is also associated with Aries, which is one of the rulers of Scorpio, which is that masculine, impulsive energy willing to start something. Think of it this way. Aries is like a firecracker. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's like all of the energy needed to create something new. Think of it like the Big Bang Theory. Think of it as the sperm breaking through the egg, right? See how much force, how much energy, physical energy is required for that. That's very much in alignment with transformation. Transformation is not necessarily easy. If it were, we would be transforming effortlessly all the time. But to break bad habits, to remove the lower level frequencies within our lives, it takes action, it takes intention, and it takes effort. Hence why the number 9 is associated with Aries and Aries is associated with Scorpio. In terms of the tarot, as it relates to the number 9, it is associated with the Hermit. Now, the Hermit is also associated with Virgo. Now, the Hermit represents sort of sequestering yourself or, going into hermit mode, for lack of a better phrase, for enlightenment. So understand that everything that we're doing with this new moon in Scorpio, it's not only an inside job, it's a solo mission. This isn't the time to be working together with people and doing things. That's more new moon in Libra. In Scorpio, we got to go into the dungeon. We got to go into the diamond mine by ourselves because that is how we achieve enlightenment. All right. So yeah, I love that about this particular new moon. It's like the numerology and the astrology sort of go hand in hand. And speaking of the astrology, let us talk about what is going on in the sky at the time of this new moon. All right. So in terms of the astrology, there's 2 things that I want to highlight, okay? The first is going to be that this new moon is going to be trine to Saturn. So that is going to be it's going to give this new moon a serious kind of flavor, but it's also going to give stability and staying power to whatever we intend at this time. And then the second that I want to highlight is Mars opposing Pluto. So basically, the two ruling planets of Scorpio are going to be not squaring off, but opposing each other at this new moon. So it is going to bring intensity. Okay. So first, let's talk about the new moon trine Saturn. So, like I said, this is going to give staying power to whatever we sort of want to change and transform at this time. Now, Saturn is currently in Pisces, and Saturn in Pisces is making your dreams reality in a nutshell, right? Seeing the bigger picture, but understanding the systems and the process and the structure required to make that dream a reality. It allows us to kind of take the rose-colored glasses off a bit and see our dreams in a more realistic light, right? To give an example, it's like you have this very Piscean dream of being a billionaire. Now, with the rose-colored glasses, you're like, oh, this is easy. I could do this. Like, I'm just a millionaire, right? Pisces, it's not to say that rose-colored glasses aren't a good thing. It's that, Pisces is not necessarily about the details. Pisces is more about how it feels. So how it feels to be a millionaire. And it's very important in terms of the manifestation process. However, with Saturn in Pisces, Saturn is like, listen, you want to be a billionaire or a millionaire or whatever it is. It's like, all right, that's going to require some work. Not only is it going to require work, it's going to require some time as well. So I say this to say that with the new moon trine to Saturn, we understand that this transformation is a process. Just like it's a process for the caterpillar to turn into the butterfly, it's going to be a process for us to transform whatever it is that we want to transform and the seeds of those transformation that we are planting at this new moon in Scorpio. So understand that being able to set up a structure to facilitate this transformation is everything that this transit has to offer us. And again, that's the new moon trine Saturn. So it's going to be easier to get disciplined. It's going to be easier to be routine and do the 3D mundane everyday things that we need to do to facilitate this change and this transformation. It is a great transit that again will give staying power to whatever it is that we're trying to transform, because understand it's a process. And a lot of times when something takes long or when something is a process, we can become unmotivated or scattered. The best use of this energy and the energy of this transit is to put a system in place at this new moon to facilitate whatever this transformation is. Best example, weight loss, right? You're trying to transform, you're trying to lose 50 or more pounds, right? The structure, the setup for you is going to be meal prepping. It's going to be a diet plan. It's going to be a workout schedule. Doing that at the outset will help you stick to it, thereby facilitating this transformation. But understand the fact that Saturn is going to be trine to this new moon means that there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be delays, and it's going to require patience because transformation does not happen overnight. However, it will be facilitated a little easier, right? Things are going to flow a lot harmoniously. Going back to my weight loss example, let's say you're like, listen, I'm going to eat plant-based and I'm going to eat organic. Now, we all know that can be expensive as hell. But the way that the astrology is set up, if you're really focused and intentional about making this change in your life, you might find that you have extra income coming in so that you can go to Whole Foods and ball out, right? That's how the universe is going to work with this. Whatever changes need to be facilitated, whatever you need to sort of take this transformation into the long run and to set up a system, the universe will supply it. So take advantage. Now, next, I want to talk about Mars opposite Pluto. And I'm actually going to be doing a live about this particular transit in a couple of days because it is super important. More so for this new moon because, like I said, Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio. So the rulers of Scorpio are opposing each other at this new moon. Okay. So essentially what this means, and I'm going to go deeper into it, in that live that I mentioned, but suffice it to say for this new moon, Mars on the one hand in Cancer may really have you in your feelings. Okay. It may really, and both of these are at 29 degrees. Mars is at 29 degrees of Cancer. Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Mars in Cancer is feeling really sensitive about this change that you want to initiate. And it's this energy of impulsivity, right? Think of it this way. You might be feeling sick and tired of being sick and tired. And this Mars in Cancer energy is like, I need to do this now. I'm getting antsy. I'm really fed up. Like, I really want to do this, right? And then opposing that, you've got Pluto in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn well, I should say Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. And I just talked about Saturn trining this new moon. So Pluto in Capricorn is like, honey, I know that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I know that you want to get this show on the road. I know that you're feeling some kind of way and you want to make this change, but understand it is a process. It is a marathon, not a sprint. This transformation takes time. And this is the opposition that we're going to be feeling. Wanting everything right now, wanting to do all of the things right now on the one hand, and being kind of sensitive and aggy about it. Meanwhile, understanding that it's a process and that there's going to be hoops to go through. There's going to be delays. There's going to be detours. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff because this is what? A marathon, not a sprint. So if you feel this dichotomy, that's probably why. It is Mars opposing Pluto. And so when we have oppositions, what do? We find a happy medium. So when it comes to wanting it now and knowing that it's a process, keep the fire going by being motivated. I feel like Mars in Cancer is going to get you motivated to move because, again, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but you have to temper that with the fact that this is a process. Enlightenment doesn't necessarily happen overnight unless there's some freak kind of accident. However, it's a process. It's a journey. So temper those two emotions, temper those two concepts, and you will be well on your way to having the things that you want and to experiencing true transformation in your life. And speaking of having what you want, let's talk about manifesting with this new moon. All right. So manifestation. When we're talking about the new moon, like I've said before, this is when we plant new seeds and set new intentions. So that's exactly what we are going to do. However, with this new moon in Scorpio, it's going to be really about tapping into your emotions and creation. This is a time when you really want to take notice of and work with your sacral chakra. Your sacral chakra has everything to do with reproduction and manifestation. Okay. So you're definitely going to want to tap into your deepest desires. Like I said, this isn't the time to play it safe or just make these little lateral changes. We're transforming. Like we're doing almost a complete overhaul with this new moon in Scorpio, right? So you want to be desirous. Okay. You want to feel what you're really passionate about, like really feel it, embody it. Okay. When you're planting these seeds and setting these intentions, right? So also, this is going to be the time when you are doing a little bit of shadow work as well, right? Because we're talking about Scorpio energy. It's not just about changing the mind. It's about changing habits, right? It's about taking what's not serving you and letting it go. So not almost, but inherent in this time of new beginnings is endings. Certain things are going to have to end for these new beginnings to take place, point blank, period. That's how Scorpio rolls. Scorpio is all or nothing. Scorpio's not going to entertain bullshit while also trying to manifest new shit. Scorpio's like, oh, this isn't working. Boom, it's gone. Oh, this person isn't on board. Okay, I'm not talking to them anymore. Like that's how Scorpio is, all or nothing. So I say to you, when it comes to manifestation, are you in or are you out? There's no half stepping with Scorpio. This is not the time for you to be like, well, I want to lose weight, but I still want to eat ice cream every day. Scorpio's like, girl, what are you doing? No. Ice cream, done. Shut down, right? That is how we manifest with this particular energy. You got to be all in and be willing to do the work. Now, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight, right? I've already said that ad nauseum. And the seeds that we plant now, we're really working on them over the next 6 months or so until the full moon in Scorpio, which is going to be happening in next spring, right? So this transformation is going to be a process, right? But you got to do the work. Again, are you in or are you out? That is what Scorpio requires of you. Now, in terms of rituals and all of that, there are two kind of things I like to do, or I like to suggest when we're talking about a new moon in Scorpio. And they're both really spicy. So, the first, fire. I'm a candle girl. I'm a candle magic girly. And so setting intentions via candle work, like lighting a 7-day candle, for example, with your intentions and a petition, like that's my go-to. But one of the other things I like to do is burn bay leaves. I like to put my intentions on bay leaves and burn them. Remember, the archetype for Scorpio is the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? So we want to burn the things that we want to purify and that we want to transform into. So, candle magic, burning bay leaves. Love those. The other one, sex magic. Whether you are partnered or you're even by yourself, engaging in sex or even masturbation with your intentions in mind. That's all I'll say about that. You might want to look that up. You might want to get into it because it is powerful. Sexual energy is so potent. It produces whole humans, right? You don't think that it would produce your desires or your transformations. So get into it, right? Those are two great, fiery, sexy, Scorpio-like ways to manifest at this new moon in Scorpio. I absolutely love it. All right. So now that we've talked about all the details, let's get into some messages from Spirit for you for this new moon in Scorpio. All right. So let's listen to what Spirit has to say for this new moon in Scorpio. So first, happy family, in quotes, stable home life, conceiving, creating your own family, happiness and fulfillment. And all is in caps, all the underlying emotions and traumas attached to those things. So maybe some of you want to conceive your own family, do some transformation when it comes to your family. Maybe you want to experience a happier home life. This is definitely the new moon for you, but understand that with family can come a lot of trauma, can come a lot of wounding. And these are the things that you're going to have to work through and process at this new moon, probably before you plant those seeds. Let's see what we've got going on next. Balancing masculine and feminine. Didn't I talk about that before, about how the new moon is the sun and the moon? And so therefore it's masculine and feminine. And we're doing the same thing with the Scorpio energy with conception. Everything comes full circle. Duality, yin and yang. Everyone has a role to play, and literal conception. I think that message is pretty much self-explanatory. All right, next. Mars. Closely linked to Scorpio, taking action only after integrating your light and shadow sides, not a moment before. Internal and external, and most importantly, inspired action. And for some, there may be this energy of fire, of being fiery, of being cocky, or even being overly confident. That might rub some people the wrong way or ruffle some feathers. So if that is how you're rolling at this new moon, be prepared perhaps for some conflict and or confrontation. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Passion, creativity, conception in all caps, children, expressing yourself. I think that's self-explanatory as well. Like I said, Scorpio has a lot to do with sex, conception, children, point blank period. Family foundation, getting to the root of your trauma, breaking generational curses and patterns. Didn't I say this before about how this is the time when you can break karmic cycles? It's also where you can break generational curses. You can be the change that you and your lineage needs right now. And I'm pretty sure if you're watching this video, you probably are the change. You are the designated one to change your lineage. And this is the new moon where you can definitely do so. Next, quiet and silence. Didn't I say that before in terms of the numerology? The number 9 is associated with the Hermit card in the Tarot. It is deep work and a solo mission, and quiet and silence are going to be key at this new moon. In the silence, you can hear what's really important. Hermit mode. Don't be afraid of the dark or the silence. This is where change and creation is made. Next, an overflow of emotions. Don't run away from them. Sit with them. Sit in them. Understand them. All they want is to be acknowledged and understood. That is the essence of emotions. They're not to torment you. They're not to haunt you. They just need to be felt. Emotions are like errant toddlers. They're vying for your attention. They're doing the most because they just want you to acknowledge them. So acknowledge them, feel them, sit in it, and they will pass. Next, a lot of family stuff with these messages and at this new moon. Family issues coming to the surface. Family you're born into versus family you've created. Fertility issues. Males, boys, son. Issues on the patriarchal side. Unmet expectations. When it comes to those unmet expectations, explore them, examine them, and uncover them for the truth. Okay? Next, what you desire. What you really desire. And when I was writing this message, I was reminded of that Spice Girl song. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Don't mind me. And I know my singing sucks, so don't come for me. All right. What you really desire is the result of a cycle of masculine and feminine energies. Discerning when to use which. Putting out and receiving, rinse and repeat. This goes back to everything I was saying about conception. It's masculine and feminine. You embody it, and then you take inspired action in accordance with that embodiment, and then you rinse and repeat. Next, divest yourself of unnecessary emotions that aren't yours. They're getting in the way of your forward momentum. Now, I've mentioned this in previous videos, but a lot of times the things that we desire are the things that we are conditioned to desire, not what we truly desire in our hearts. So really get to the core of your desires and who is imposing those desires on you. Okay, it's really important that you discern what's yours and what's not yours so that you can divest yourself of what is not yours and what is not serving you. Next, the ending of the cycle may still be a little ways away. Have patience. It is all about divine timing. I think that's self-explanatory. Next, bridges connect, but also separate. Be intentional about making connections. Now, this is a solo job. However, as we go forward, there may be people that become instrumental in this transformation. Be sure to put those drawbridges down so you can connect with those people. However, do not be afraid to burn those bridges if they no longer serve you. Okay? Words to the wise. Next, this new moon is feminine. Conceive, cultivate, curate, and receive. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again. This new moon is feminine. Conceive, cultivate, curate, and receive. Next, being emotionally fulfilled is a priority at this time. Tap into your passion. What do you want to give birth to? I think that's a great starting point and maybe even a journal prompt that you want to engage with before you set your intentions. What do you want to give birth to at this time? Next, it takes two to tango. Heavy emphasis on masculine and feminine energies. Manifesting wealth and abundance, question mark. Embody stability. Feel it in your bones. Drop others' emotions and expectations and take inspired action. And that's all that we have for this new moon. So plenty of masculine, feminine energy, transformation, process, stability. Like this new moon is chock full of everything that you need to make a what? Profound and permanent change in your life. This is not the new moon that you want to skimp on, that you want to skip out on. Do the work and literally soar, right? Go from the caterpillar to the butterfly. Be the phoenix rising from the ashes. You can do it. And the universe is giving you everything you need to do so. I love that for us. All right, my loves. So that concludes this video on the upcoming new moon in Scorpio. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going into this new moon and beyond. If you are looking for information about my products and services, all of that is either linked to the video or in the description box below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy new moon in Scorpio, and congratulations on your upcoming transformation. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.